Hey, still here? I am very excited. Tonight is kind of going to be a special night because I have not added to the collection of fables in about 21 years. Last one I wrote was right after 9/11, and that was The Mouse and the Light. The Mouse and the Light never got published, but it became a symphony. So I'm in quarantine, full on, waiting for those COVID-19 results to come back, and I'm sure they're going to be negative, all the coughing aside. So to celebrate in advance the fact that I am sure that this is going to be fine, I've written a new fable, and it was inspired by a video that I saw yesterday. It was this little toddler, couldn't have been more than 3 years old, and somebody had taken this little boy outside. I guess he's been in the house a lot, and somebody was videoing him, and he got this look of panic, like stranger danger look on his face. He was like, uh-oh, and like mom or grandmom said, what is he? He's like, uh-oh, oh, and she's like, what is this, a stranger? What is it? He said, it's a person. Uh-oh, we see person, we gotta run. We run when we see a person. And I was like, uh-oh. And the mom said, why do we have to run when we see a person? And he said, because of the virus. There's all the people, and all the people's got the virus. So uh-oh, and he ran in the house. It was totally adorable, and my heart broke. Oh man, I was like, what's the world gonna be like with toddlers growing up that way? So I thought maybe I could come up with a fable to take us on that journey a little in advance. And you may ask why it's going to be in an Irish accent. Now I have no earthly idea. It felt a little Irish to me, and I was trying to throw it off the scent of being placed in America. So it's called Dust to Duster. Honor and her brother Divock were as different as could be. Now Honor, she was outgoing. Wherever she went, she made a new friend. This is because she greeted absolutely everyone she met, from people walking past to the dogs that they were walking. She was also a hugger and a shaker of many hands. You really need to stop that right away, her brother chided. 'Tis the worst of all things to endanger yourself in such a way. Who knows who those people might be? A duster? A king? An eater of broccoli, maybe? Honor giggled. An eater of broccoli? She teased. Oh, far and away the worst of any plague carrier or robber in the night. Oh, brother, my brother, you must relax. Enjoy life a bit. Never, thought Divock. He'd relaxed once upon a time, and no good had come of it. Also, any kind of plant that flowered yellow or left a greenish pollen, well, that was not to be trusted in his experience, and nor were kings. Divock was older than his sister. He remembered the days when everyone in the kingdom, and even the whole of the world, had been locked away in their homes for months upon months on end, when the sycamore trees all around the world had come into full flower all at one time. Honor hadn't been born. She was born long after the final quarantine had ended. She had never known the feeling that a child has when he's taught that beyond never talk to strangers. The real rule was, when you see a person, you run. Divock, children all over the world his age, had spent nearly a year learning this new rhyme that they lived by. If you go a-walking, night or day, see a person, run away. No time to chat, don't stand to play. Turn around, run away. No matter if they're meek and mild, run away, my child. This was because of what came to be known as the Great Plant-demic. The green dusty spores from the trees had been easy to spot at first when they fell straight down and blanketed all of the ground. Some leaders, they sounded the alarm early because their own gardens had warned them. They knew that the trees had changed as the soil in which they grew had soured from waste and greed. In their cities, they made it a law for everyone to stay in their homes until the spores had settled and been scrubbed from the planet. They hosed down, they scrubbed the sidewalks, the cars, the buildings, even the people, with special mixture that dissolved all of the spores. But not all were so worldly wise. Some, a very few leaders, insisted that the plant-demic was silly nonsense and should be ignored. They called the sycamore trees simple garden weeds. Some even called them lovely. Craven Hornswoggle, king of the land in which Anor and Divok lived, was the absolute worst of them all. He was. Not only did Hornswoggler tell his subjects that the tree pollen would be harmless, he went so far as to suggest that they collected up little bags and use it as a lucky charm against all illnesses. The rose garden that grew outside of the king's window cried out each time he passed, "Beware the dust! Avoid your fate! Act now before it is too late." The king glared at the roses. "I thought that you were always supposed to be rosy. I expect only good news from you. Only the best." The earth itself tried to shake the king, but Hornswoggler was entirely unmoved. "He's not listening," cried the water in the fountain in despair. "He can't see the forest for the sycamore trees." Then came the winds of change. They carried and scattered the specks of pollen as an invisible force that blanketed the whole of the world. In an effort to gain the love of his people, old Hornswoggler, he ordered gold to be distributed throughout the land. But the people knew that gold was of little use when medicine and protection were what was needed, and they demanded a plan of action and a cure. In response, Hornswoggler ordered the great rose garden to be demolished and an entire forest of the sycamore trees to be planted in their place, just to prove how safe that they were. "Fear not," cried the king from the topmost parapet of his castle, "for I am well." With that said, he brought in massive fans to blow away the dust from the newly planted grove of sycamore trees as a demonstration of just how easy it was to clear the air. Let it be said here, now, and forever that this here was a man who would go down in history as a polluter and not a clearer of air. The spores, they spread by touch or breath or even footsteps. They had two very different effects on people. Some needed only one little touch or a breath of a single spore to be stricken by the terrible illness. But others, they can breathe it in, they could cover themselves up in the spores and they'd never be harmed. Yet they were harmed by the terrible grief that they felt for being the unwitting carriers of the plant-demic. Divok, he was a teenager at the time. He was such a one. As the days passed by and he grew restless and bored, he decided to sneak away from the house and meet up with a group of his friends for a game in the park. This was before the scientists had invented the special glasses that allowed people to see the footprints of the so-called dusters. The grass right beneath his feet shouted up at him to stop. But people those days, they'd forgotten how to hear the voice of nature. Dogs in every yard that he passed, they barked and barked out their warning. But he just hushed them up and ignored them. And so it was that Divok, he crept back into his house that evening, carrying the fine spores on his shoes, his clothes and his hair, on his very breath. He never told anyone he'd gone out. So his mother, his father, his grandparents all sheltering together. Never they had a chance to make him wash up or clean his clothes. Well, his mother survived, but his father, his grandparents, they all perished soon afterwards. Years later, his mother, she remarried and Anor was born into a new world filled with more caution, but less people. Now, Divok, he looked down at his little sister and he envied her open and carefree ways. Tell me again, tell me, what happened to the old king? She said. Did he ever change his ways? Divok shook his head. Not at all. Why, old Hornswoggler, now known throughout the world as the Old Duster, he continued his reign for a few brief years before one of his very own sycamore trees, made frail by the fans that blew on them day and night for so long, fell right on him when he was standing outside his castle giving yet another fine speech about how it had all been just a bad dream. Anor shook her head. Well then, 'tis a good thing we have ourselves a queen now, she said, and all the sycamore trees are gone, and the people are listening to the rose garden again, now that old king is done and dusted. So there it is. First new fable of the new world. Let's see. Maybe we can even turn that one into a movie with Savra. I hope everyone's doing well. And tomorrow night, see you here again. Love ya.